Hey everyone, it's Jenna Harte and today is Fan Friday. Thought I would do a Q&A because you have questions and I have answers, so let's get started. So I occasionally get questions either through the contact page on my website, through social media, sometimes through my email newsletter, and I thought I would answer some of those today because sometimes I get the same question over and over. So if you've had this question, maybe I'm going to answer it now. Let's go to the first question, which is, in the Southern Heat series, each book had an important themes, like in Drawn to Her and the importance of family over work. When you write, do you start with a theme idea you want to convey? And this is from Julie. And the answer is no. I am really not that organized when I get started writing. I'm pretty much a pantser, which means I don't really know the story, much less the theme, a lot of times when I get started. But when I analyze the stories and the themes that did come out of each of those books, I realize that a lot of it went to motivation, which is really important in story writing. I've read some romance books before where sometimes I just didn't buy the reason why certain people did things. You know, for example, a woman in one of these stories, she might have had one bad relationship and now she's, given up on men forever and ever. And I just don't feel like one bad relationship necessarily can lead to someone giving up on the idea of a romance or getting married and all that stuff in the future. I mean, if you look around you, most people have gone out with a variety of people. Sometimes those have ended badly, and yet they still go on seeking someone to spend their life with. So I feel like it takes more than just one bad relationship, depending on how bad it is, to really turn somebody like that. In the Deadly Valentine series, Tess did have a bad relationship, but she also had a lot of other baggage she was carrying around, and her resistance to having a new relationship wasn't so much based on not wanting a romantic relationship, but just sort of a distrust of people, having grown up with cold, unloving parents. She just sort of had enough of being hurt and betrayed and let down by people. The same is true in the Southern Heat series. For example, in the second book, Meant to Be, where Mitch has kind of given up on the idea of a love ever after. And it's not simply just because one woman broke his heart 10 years ago. As you learn in the book, in over those 10 years, he had some really significant betrayals and loss. And it isn't just that he doesn't want to have a relationship with women and get married. It's just that he's distrusting of everybody that he doesn't already know and love and trust. So many of the times these themes came out just in my attempt to have a really good reasoning for why these people are behaving the way they are behaving. Why are they resistant to each other? Where is the conflict in the story that's keeping them from making a commitment? And the themes came later. And I'm happy with the themes. I was a little worried some of them were a little too heavy, deep, and real, but I felt like they really worked in the story. All right, next question. Are there any of your characters that are like you or people that you know? Tess is a little bit like me. She's short, she likes chocolate and old R&B, and she's afraid to fly, I'm afraid to fly, which is actually more like Jack. But I do not have a lot of couture lingerie to be able to adequately assess a love for it like she has. I think for the most part, my characters might have a little bit of me sometimes, but for the most part, they are their own beings. And sometimes I'll draw on other people that I've met or known, but not enough that I think any of them would recognize each other. I just have a new cozy that I've been writing, and In it, there's a great aunt who's kind of cantankerous. She's not based on anybody I know, but she has a bunch of card buddies who get together and play cards. And that whole situation, that group of women, is sort of based on somebody that I did know that used to get together with her friends and play cards. So any resemblance is more like that. Pretty much these characters develop and evolve in the way they do because that's what I need for them to be like in order to make the story work. Okay, let's move on to question number 3, which has to do with the Valentine Mysteries Book 3. I love this history of the ring in With This Ring I Thee Kill. Did you do a lot of research on the Hope Diamond? And have you learned any other interesting things while researching a book? I did do a lot of research on the Hope Diamond. I had known some of it. I've actually seen it. I don't live so far from the Smithsonian that I haven't been able to go see it, which is kind of cool. I actually saw it a couple years ago when they had put it in a new setting for a little while. And I think now it's back in the old setting. So I did do some research, and of course by the time I was writing this story, a lot more had been known about the Hope Diamond and its relationship to the French blue, all of which does show up in the book. And there was a documentary, I think it's narrated by Kim Basinger, that I watched, which had to do with the Hope Diamond and the French blue. And I emailed one of the experts on there to talk to him because I had questions about the cuttings. The answers I got, I was not happy with, so I ended up having to fudge things in the book a little bit. I'm going to take that as sort of artistic license there. But I did a lot of research and connected with people to learn about the history of that. And of course, some of the mythology and lore around and the curse of the diamond, that was really interesting as well. In terms of other research, yeah, I do sometimes get to learn some interesting things. Sometimes I'm researching things like, how can you stab somebody and have it be serious but not fatal? For Death Under the Mistletoe, I researched whether it was possible to poison somebody with mistletoe. The answer was such that I decided to kill the mall Santa in a different way, which is not to say that you can't poison with mistletoe, but in terms of what I needed for the book, I opted to do something else. And of course, I am very concerned if someone were to come in and look at my browser searches because I do have some stuff like that. But I've also done some really interesting research in other ways. I have a new cozy that I've written and just sold in which there is an airplane pilot in it. And I don't like to fly. And of course, I've never been in any sort of small charter planes. But you go to YouTube and there's some pilot in there who is flying. And I was able to watch those videos to get a sense of what it was like to be in the cockpit, what it looked like, how to take off. So that was really fun. And in this new cozy, I have a character who really likes folklore and mythology and fairy tales. So I've been able to go back and relearn some of the things that I had forgotten when I was in school. But I've also been able to research other types of mythology and folklore and fairy tales that have been really interesting as well. So yeah, I get to look at all sorts of fun and interesting things in terms of, making stories fit with my book. Well, that's it for questions and answers today. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have a question that I didn't answer today, you're welcome to send one to me. You can leave it in the comments. You can go to my website at jennaharte.com and connect with me there. You can ask it on social media, or if you're on my newsletter list, which you really should be because I got lots of free goodies for you if you sign up, you can ask through there as well. If you enjoy the videos that I'm doing, I hope that you will give me a like. And maybe even go ahead and click the subscribe button so that you can come back and watch more. Until next time, this is Jenna Harte wishing you peace, love, and happily ever after.